Pam, we've been talking a lot about the big obvious dangers and risks and things we don't want them to see. Violent content, pornographic content, bullying content. Would you like to talk a little bit more about some of the more insidious risks associated with social media use? Because there's a lot out there that might not at face value appear to be dangerous or risky, but which can have a very negative impact on our teens psychologically.
Absolutely. So I think that there's a lot of covert risk that parents don't often think about, not because they don't want to, but because we don't always know. So, a more obvious one might be the depression and anxiety that comes from too much device use at 3 o'clock in the morning when you think your child is sleeping. But there are more subtle things than that, like the fake news our children receive, how they pass that on, the digital distraction, the kind of influencers they're following. Someone like Andrew Tate, who has tens of millions of followers, but is really a hugely misogynistic man, has been, kind of found now to be guilty of sex trafficking, but sells a huge amount of what it is to be he's very anti kind of this notion of men and women being equal. And he plows that through our children's minds in a very profound way and in a very influential way. There's also things like a new therapist that's on Snapchat, an artificial intelligent therapist, and a lot of our children are seeking that out. So like Dean, we have a program called Clicked in Your Pocket for parents to understand some of these insidious things, not just how to cope with when your child gets bullied online, because those are things that we almost can take active steps in respect of. But something like WhatsApp exclusion, when your child is pushed on a group, off a group, how they manage that, what you can do in the moment, and most importantly, what the in-the-moment behaviors are for your child in terms of those things. So we have a full digital citizenship curriculum for schools, but we also address, how parents can manage those things in the moment. So, that would be Clicked in Your Pocket versus your child downloading our curriculum at school and being taken through that. And the focus really there is in the moment behavior skill set, so that they know how to contain and manage themselves. Because really, the frontal lobe is not developed yet. They are not fully formed. We cannot expect them to be. And it is our role to really upskill them. So, I think between the three of us, we've all got some products that really kind of upgrade our capacity to help them manage. But I guess what I feel very strongly is that what we really have to end with is a child who's able to regulate themselves.
Yeah.
Not enough for us to put all of these things around them. And so that self-regulation capacity is what we like to teach.
So let me throw the cat among the pigeons and ask where our responsibilities lie in terms of role modeling that. Because Pam, as the parent, I'm guilty of having the phone next to my bed when I go to sleep at night. I'm guilty of scrolling through Facebook while I'm watching TV in the evenings. And I know those are not healthy habits for them to see me practicing. So guilty is charged. How big a responsibility is it, do you think, for parents to role model better digital citizenship and these skills?
So I think hands up for all of us on that guilty front, including me, and my kids are the first to point it out. But then it's about saying, you know what, you're absolutely right, as opposed to I'm an adult, I can do what I want. I've kind of passed the grade here, and say, you know what, let's challenge each other. Let's decide on 5 days online, 2 days off. One day before maybe a cycle test, and one day on the weekend. We all agree, 2 days off this week. Let's see how that feels. What should we do with those 2 days? So it's not just about modeling or defending our position. It's about engaging our position. You're right. Let's go, sweetheart. What should we do together? Is very different to holy moly, I'll be on Facebook whenever I want at 3 a.m. because I'm the adult.
Yeah. Rachelle, I want to come back to you. When you were making the podcast and interviewing all these teens, were they acutely aware of this kind of the insidious content Pam's talking about? Are they aware of the influence of the influencers, if I can put it that way? Were they engaging with you at all about that aspect of what they're consuming on social media?
They did. A lot of them said, I'm quite happy that I found the better side of social media, and social media makes me feel better about myself than it would necessarily seem to adults. some of them did say, and especially when we talk about things like pornography, some of them did say, what I see on there, I immediately go to the mirror and I look at myself, and I don't measure up. And how will I ever find love if this is what I look like and this is what all these models look like? So there are definitely both sides, and what I appreciated most was the absolute honesty. That they talked about it. I mean, we talk about Pam just mentioned depression, anxiety because they're on their phones until what time in the morning. So the one boy said to me, my phone's charging next to my bed, and my parents know that I'm a bad sleeper. So they don't mind if I'm on my phone. They just walk past and go, "Oh, okay. Are you watching YouTube clips again to help you fall asleep?" Oof. And we all know that's actually not the right way of doing things. But those type of risks, the screen time risks, I think are the ones that they're not aware of, completely not aware of. They're aware of all the other risks that we've spoken about, but no, I would definitely say that they're not aware of risks. Spending too much time on the phone, comparing yourself to others. Seeing that your friends are going to parties because they post on Instagram, but you're not being invited, and you thought you were actually part of the circle of friends. So they don't see that necessarily as a risk of the online world.
Dean, do you want to jump in here? I see you nodding to a lot of what Rachelle was saying.
Yeah, I mean, you were actually talking about parties, and just a simple function inside Snapchat, which is Snap Maps, allows you to be able to see anybody, unless they're in a thing called ghost mode, which means that they're hiding their location, will tell you where people are. So I see them, in schools, I see them a lot, checking out where people are and talking about actually, to some degree, the importance of Snap Maps as well, because they know where their friends are and they can send a snap to them and so on. And I think one thing that Rachelle says that is very important is we mustn't overlook the fact that this is the modern way of socializing, whether we like it or not. And that some kids, despite the dangers that we're experiencing and we need to arm up against, are doing okay and are comfortable, and are to some degree being able to reach out to people and get support, say, from their friends. That being said, there's still all those problems that we still need to almost protect them against. So, and that's why what happens is if we do a great job of monitoring and router security, and we lock up the doors and windows by putting on the right privacy settings and make them private profiles and so on, that's why we still need to talk to them about certain skills that they need, like empathy and kindness and generosity. And when we were talking about the modeling, you just mentioned something about like they're modeling how you behave. But what happens, Pippa, if you are an incredibly generous, kind person? You say, no, we don't do that in this house. We don't speak like that. And when you consume online, you're consuming cat videos and you're sharing that with them. This is again horses for courses. We've got to not look at this as one blanket spectrum, because we're talking about different ages. We're talking about different values in the home. Some are conservative, some are liberal. Some people are putting in a lot of time with their kids. Some people are putting in less time. And I think people need to adopt their own critical thinking about their own behaviors within themselves and then with their children. And that is one of the most important first steps that we say to parents is sit down with your partner and ask, how well do you think we're honestly doing with each other in the way in which we're communicating to our child? Where do we stand? Are we on a scale of 0 to 10? Are we conservative or are we liberal? Because you're going to have to come to terms with that. If you're liberal, there's going to be potential consequences there. It's okay, but you just need to really own it.
And have